Welcome to the Back to Health podcast, where we share inspirational stories of hope to help you reclaim your health. If you're suffering from a chronic condition and have been given little to no hope, if you've been told that there's nothing wrong with you, but you know there definitely is something wrong, or if you're just trying to be preventative and want to know how to reclaim your health, then this podcast is for you. I can't wait to share today's episode. Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Back to Health podcast. Now, today's episode is all about healing from your childhood experiences. And this is one that I feel is really close to home for everyone, because no matter how good a childhood you think you had, there are always things that have happened in our childhood that have shaped the way that we view the world, that we view other people, that we understand things, and it even shapes our beliefs and our morals, because most of our beliefs are formed up till the age of about 6 or 7. And then those are the beliefs that form and that we carry around for most of our adult lives. So it's not that you have to have had a traumatic childhood for things to have affected you later in adulthood. There can be things that could have been very small, minor misunderstandings that have shaped your worldview and therefore have made you operate in a certain way that maybe that as you've grown and developed, those skills are now, or those beliefs are now, no longer serving you. And so you have outgrown the purpose of holding those beliefs. And it's important to understand how you can heal and move beyond the beliefs that we've picked up in our childhood. So our guest today is a branding and leads strategist. She's an international speaker, educator, and a best-selling author. And Kala works with coaches and experts to brand and launch profitable online businesses. But a lot of overcoming the obstacles that you find when you are launching a business or you are trying to improve your sales, or even just succeed in any other part of your life, has a lot to do with our childhood experiences. So Kala would like to share her story and how she healed and overcame the challenges that she faced in her childhood. Welcome to the show, Kala Krish. So hi, Kala. It's so lovely to have you on the show today. And I'm really excited for me and the audience to get to know your story and to understand the sort of pivotal points in sort of how you've come from your childhood, the situation, and how you've evolved, because I think your story is sort of more common than we know. And we both come from a very similar sort of Asian background. You deal with the same sort of limiting beliefs that you might be given in childhood. And then I think a lot of people can relate regardless of what background you come from, because there are certain limiting beliefs in different cultures that we all have to learn to overcome if we want to step beyond what is considered to be successful in that particular culture, right? Because
exactly,
a lot of us who want to fulfill like what our parents think, parents' view or cultural view of success is, with those beliefs you probably can get there because that's what they're setting you up for. But if you want to go beyond that, then it can be really hard to sort of break away from that. So I'd love to start just right at the beginning, so from your childhood, what your experiences were, and sort of your trajectory from there, really.
Thank you. And again, thank you for having me. And so, starting from childhood, so I come from above average financially, in the point of view of financially. I come from above average family, which was great. And going back, like my grandparents, like my granddad was an engineer. He was a civil engineer with Singapore Airlines at those time, so you can imagine, I came from a family where they were pretty educated. My grandparents, like my grandma was driving till she was 90. And it was pretty cool, coming from that background. And all my aunties and uncles were academically very successful, like lawyers, doctors, teachers, and so on and so forth. Yeah. So, very different from a lot of people that I spoke to, where they have probably, you can say, backgrounds that were not really very educated or not financially sound. But then I think together with it, what happened is there was a lot of expectations in my household. I was the first granddaughter, and my mom, but I had a good time. So I have to say, I had a really, really good space of growing up with my grandparents. I think how I survived it all was that I had a good balance. So growing up, my mom, she's an accountant with Singapore Airlines. And so she had a whole lot of expectations, right? And then she always came to a space where she was always competing, like her daughter had to be better than, maybe her sister's daughter or somebody else's first daughter or son, and
Yeah.
growing up, it was hard, and then from a very young age, I was beaten, like really beaten. Like I would go to school with stripes in my hand because using a cane at those times was normal, and so if I didn't know my mathematics, I would get beaten, and it was not a nice space to be in. But how I think I managed to survive it was because whenever I used to go to my grandparents' house, it was just filled with love. Like I was so treasured because I was the oldest granddaughter,
Yeah.
so I was pampered, I was spoiled, I was given so much love. And I think how what I did well was that I kind of focused on the love and was drawn to that and wanted more of that rather than focusing on what made me unhappy and what was not good for me and what was not working for me. You know,
Yeah.
and so as time grew by, it was like I really, growing up, I absolutely just couldn't get along with my mom. Like I absolutely hated her, if that's the right word, And I'm growing up to become my teenage years, I was an absolute rebel. Like I would leave the house, I would hang out with friends and do all kind of things. And so my mom really, she just couldn't handle me anymore. Um, so yeah, I think so. It was just my way of running away from what I didn't really like. And
Yeah.
again, I'm blessed because I had a good circle of friends. When I say good, not the kind of circle that I would want to be with now, but what I mean by good is that I was always looked after. There was so much love. There was no competition. We were just having fun. Clean fun, nice fun. And I loved it. So that grew me and probably brought up more of like who am I as a person.
Yeah.
I enjoy being with people who just wanted to have fun. It was just so simple, right? And so, but my mom, like I said, because her expectations were not met, I'll share this, which I've never shared this anywhere. So I think it was about 17 or 18 years old. My mom called the police on me because I came home at 11 p.m. one day.
Oh,
So, and it was funny. Like now, when I look back at it, I actually laugh at it because when the police guys came, they were like, okay, so they were just questioning me. So, where did you go? What did you do? And then they just turned to my mom and said, well, we can't do anything with her. She didn't do anything wrong.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I was like, it was just so weird. But I think in my mom, she was like, no, she needs to go to a girl's home. She needs to be corrected. She needs discipline. She needs
Yeah.
to know how to go back to her studies and educate herself and get her to have a job. So she couldn't take the fact that I was just not conforming.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know and so I started, and then as I grew up, I didn't sit in a job. Like I would always job hop, and then people used to say, oh, she's not disciplined, she always
Mm.
job hops, she's not good at anything. But then I'm telling you, like when I left Singapore and I came here to the UK, I became an entrepreneur, and that's when I actually found the answer to that. It's not because I was job hopping, it was because I had never really found what I wanted to do.
Yes, yes. And I think that
So and
that's so important for people from different cultural backgrounds to understand, because obviously parents do have this expectation, and sometimes it's that,
yeah,
the what is it, like, your mum may have had dreams that she didn't fulfill, so the unfulfilled dreams,
exactly.
trying to live them through you and putting the expectation and the pressure and everything on you, and when you're not
Exactly.
conforming, it's like something's wrong with you, and not understanding that something's
Exactly.
actually wrong with, not wrong with her, but she's not managing her own emotions and expectations properly, rather than
Exactly.
expecting you to be the person she wants you to be. And
Exactly.
this is a really important point for me, because I know this culturally as well, that many
Yeah.
parents believe they own their children. Their children
Yeah.
belong to them. And, so my child should do what I expect them to do. And when that child grows up, they should support this family and they should give everything back to this family, because
Exactly.
this family gave everything to them. And what I want to say is that I understand where that comes from, and I understand where the generational cultural beliefs come from. But what you have to understand is that that is not unconditional love. And that is really
Exactly.
important, because the only job of a parent I see is to unconditionally love your child. Like, yes, you need to keep them safe and you need to, like, discipline them to certain extents. You want them to be good human beings. But really, if you unconditionally love your child, like, no matter what they do, they feel loved, then at the end of the day,
Yeah.
you've done your job as a parent, and your job is not to shape them or make them something or mold them into something. And it's something that I've had to work really hard to detach myself from that, because when my daughter especially was much younger, I could hear my mum's voice in my head. Like, I could
Oh
hear
yeah.
you hear the echo of your mom. Like I started saying things and I was like, but that's not me. Like that's not what I want for my
Yeah.
child. But I can't help
Yeah.
it. It was like a knee-jerk reaction. Like my mom's voice was coming through me. Like, hurry up and finish your thing and do this quickly and hurry up. And I
Yeah.
was like, but that's not the relationship I want with my daughter. That's not the relationship I want to be. That's not the type of mom I want to be. But you almost can't help it. So I'd love to know, like having come from that type of experience, like how did that affect the way that you dealt with things, like in your adulthood, like how much of that was ingrained in you and that you had to sort of break
Yeah.
break away from?
You gave me goosebumps when you said that, because that is something that's so close to my heart. So I think I grew up well, and then I got married very early. I got married at 20 when I just passed 21, so early 22,
Yeah.
and I had my daughter. I've only got one daughter, and I got her at 23 years old. She's 18 years old today,
Wow.
and I think that was my way of escaping. But when I got married, I think that changed my life. It's awesome. As I've been married to him for like 19 years now, and I was
Wow.
dating him before that for about 4 years. So I've been with him since I was 17 years old.
Congratulations.
And thank you. So I'm so proud of how far I have come in my own journey in terms of marriage, number one, and also my relationship with my daughter. And what you said is so true. So having her at a very young age, I never had the support system,
Yeah.
as in like how to look after her. I remember when I gave birth in the hospital, I gave birth to her around at night. The next day in the morning, so I gave birth to her past midnight, and then the next day in the morning, I had to discharge myself, leaving her in the hospital,
Oh,
literally running to the mall to go order the card and get all those things done and buy her clothes, because I was told not to buy all of those things before the child was born.
yeah.
So I didn't do any of that. Neither did I expect anybody to do that for me. So I discharged myself, and me and my husband, we went to go shop all those things. The next day, went back to the hospital and then picked my daughter, and then we came back home, right? And so when I went back, even the nurses were like, "Did you just give birth like a few hours ago?" And I was like, "Yes, I did." But I guess I was young, so I was able to do it, and I'm blessed. So that's all I would say to it. But I have no regrets on that. I loved it. It's an experience. It's a story to share. And growing up and bringing her up with no guidance whatsoever, I think that was the best things ever. So I don't have to hear from other people how to do things. So
Yeah.
that was great. And I had a husband who would also not tolerate it when people would say, "Oh, tell her to do things properly," or that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
He was like, "She's the mom, she knows what she's doing." So it was great to have that space to allow me to grow as a mom.
That's great.
But you're so right in saying that that voice echoes in your head all the time.
Yeah.
And so growing up, there was once ever, just once, she did something. I can't even remember what that was. It must have been something so silly. I spanked her hard on the butt once. And let me tell you, the cry that she did, I ended up crying that night and I couldn't sleep. And I said a sorry to her after that. And that was the last ever that she has had a hit from me ever. And I think she was about 5, 6 years old. I think I've never beaten her. Neither is my husband. It was a wake up call. And when that happened, it was like, what did I just do?
Mm.
Like what did I just got them do? And that hurt me so bad. And I think it was a conscious battle, always hearing that voice of my mom.
Yes.
And when and sometimes it's funny when someone's relative says, "Oh, you look so like your mom," and I was like, "Shut the f up! No, I don't." It's like, stop it, because I don't want that reconfirmations, or I don't want that kind of thing to be attached to me.
Mm.
Because it affects me psychologically. So it was always a constant battle, and being so self-aware of how I speak, how my tonality is, how I say things, how I do things. Over these years, I think I've got an amazing relationship with her. Like, we could talk about boys, we could talk about what silly things she did in school, like anything and everything we could talk about with no judgments. And like what you said is so right. It's about creating a space where it's home.
Yeah.
And I think that's so important. That is something I never really had with my parents. Like, if I could not come back to them and say that I didn't do something right, like I remember when I came to the UK, I was from Singapore. So when I came from Singapore to the UK, that was about 9 years back. Even then, I had so many of them tell me, "This is the worst decision you could ever do. Why would you bring a 9-year-old daughter, get your husband, leave his job, and then move to a country where you have no support system? Like, you're
Mm.
going to regret this. You don't know what you're doing. Listen to people who have done it, all that kind of stuff."
Yeah.
But today, I know that was one of the best decisions I made, or we made rather, to move away from the toxic environment. because now I don't have to hear. I'm not obliged to go visit them every week. I don't have to deal with those stuff. Some people call it running away. I call it moving away from toxicity, because I think
Mm,
that's so important. And you need to be able to understand what is it that draws your energy and gives you the negative vibe. Move away from it. And we need to normalize saying that it's, people say it's only your mom. It's okay. It's your mom. It's okay. It's your dad. It's not okay. We
mm,
need to normalize that. It's not okay. It doesn't matter who it is. If they're wrong, they're wrong. If your vibes don't settle, it doesn't settle. And then you need to know how to move away. But at the same time, I think it's also important to know that I still speak to my mom on a weekly basis. Like, she calls me and we just go, hi, hello, and we just find out how things are going. And that's great. So what I've learned to do is to forgive but not forget. So these memories always stick with me. You can't take it away from me,
yeah,
but I've come to realize that she did what she thought was right at that point, and that's great. It's good for her. If she's okay with it, I'm okay, and I'm moving on, because I think people hold on to the baggage,
yeah,
you know and the more you hold on to it, the person who's actually getting hurt is you, not your mom,
yes.
because you'll never be able to create something more beautiful if you keep holding on to what's hurting you,
That's a
right?
really
So I think it's just about moving. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was going to say that's such an important point, because I think it's like people think that if you have to forgive or if you want to forgive, you have to just forget everything that happened, and that's not the case. Like, you can still keep those
No,
memories because those situations help you learn how to be you, right? Those situations
yeah,
molded you. It gave you the lessons that you needed to make sure that you don't do things that way, because you know how it feels, and you won't have that
exactly.
awareness if you didn't have those experiences. So you don't have to forget the
Exactly.
memories, you don't have to forget those things happen. It's a true part of your life. It happened, right? There's no
Yeah.
denying it. But at the same time, I think it's important for us to understand. And I think I heard this. It might have been like an Oprah interview or YouTube clip I watched like a long time ago. But it was the best thing for me in terms of healing and understanding where other people are coming from. It's that know that
Yeah.
everybody is doing the best that they can possibly do. It might not be what you expected or you wanted or you even like
Yeah.
feel, not even what you need from that person, but
Yeah.
they are doing the best that they can do. So just to understand that they are coming from a place of what they think is right, what they think is the best, what they think is good for you. They just want to give you the things that they think are good. Whether or not
Yeah.
that's right or wrong is a different story. Like whether it's good for you or not
Exactly.
is a different story. But the only way you can move past those situations is to
Yeah.
understand they weren't coming from, the intention was not bad. Maybe the way that they delivered it was not the right way, but the intention was
Yeah.
never bad in the first place. So do you think that your healing journey started like once you moved to the UK and were able to remove yourself from that toxic sort of environment? Like, did you feel that was a really pivotal point in allowing yourself to start healing those experiences?
No, actually, my healing journey started when I moved out, when I got married.
Okay.
I think that was the turning point in my life, because that gave me time away from my parents' home.
Yeah.
And then just creating a life that I always wanted, creating a home that I always wanted. And for me, that was the biggest thing. So the non-negotiable for me in the marriage was that I'm going to be at home with my daughter and looking after her. I was going to be a stay-home mom.
Yeah.
That was the bottom line for me. So I think that's when my whole healing journey started. But I think, like I said, I've been blessed in a sense that though I have all these memories, I had very good support system around me in terms of friends, my grandparents, and a couple of aunts. Like, I've always felt that love, and so I learned love, I learned abundance, I love that kind of stuff from them. So it was a good, I wouldn't say a balance, but I think I was, like I said, I was more drawn towards it. So I was more, so the way I was acting, the way I was talking, the way I was attracting people was more towards that rather
Mm.
than the negative. So I think now that I'm in the space of like coaching and business and mindfulness and all that, we kind of attach names to it. But years back, I didn't know what that meant. But now when you look back, I was just drawn more to the loving energy than to the negative energy, which I think, again, is something that people need to understand. You need to become more self-aware into where you're drawn. People go and focus on like, oh, my mom's hurting me, my parents hurting me, I hate my spouse, But the thing is, they keep reiterating that energy, and they keep talking about it rather than focusing on something else that could actually then bring them to a better space. And so, yeah, I think my healing journey started way back, way, way back. I think me moving to the UK was just a tipping point it was just that bit where it started. Me moving to the UK more than a healing journey, it was more of self discovery, because I was a stay at home mom all the while until I moved to the UK, and it was an accidental entry into becoming a business person, and then a new community, a new support system where I kind of discovered myself. And that is when in my 30s, I actually figured out who I was. Sure, I was a mom, I was a wife, but then who was I as a person was actually when I came to the UK, I kind of figured that out. So that was a journey on its own scale. But healing, I think I did it at a very, very, very early age. So
That's so interesting. So, when you become an entrepreneur, you have these things called like upper limiting beliefs, and you have things that don't allow you to be, like everyone thinks that being an entrepreneur is like there's hustle and there's hard work and there's hours that you have to put in. Yes, there's all of that. But if it's about hard work, I think, like I'm always happy. I can work as hard as you want me to work. Like I've got no issues with hard work. And most people, I'm sure, like you're similar. You're used to doing hard work. You're happy to put in the hours. But it's not just about putting in the hours,
yeah,
because there's lots of self belief and there's lots of limitations and issues that can come up with you. And most of these things tend to come from our childhoods, right? Like most of the
exactly.
beliefs that come from our childhoods. So could you talk to us a little bit about when you started this journey as an entrepreneur, what sort of self-limiting beliefs did come up for you, and
Mm,
which ones of those were related to your experiences in childhood, and how did you then
yeah.
overcome those?
Oh my God, you know what? So many, so many. I think what I was good is that from a very young age, when I got married, I was just blessed to have a husband who was super supportive. Like he's just one of those guys, like wants me to, he likes to see me in the limelight. So go do this, go do that, go drive by this
Yeah.
and get that, and, it not just being materialistic, but I got my first LV bag from him. Like I never used to spend this kind of things. I never had that kind of visualizations or things like that. But
Yeah.
then that opened up my mindset as like we can get anything we want, right? So in terms of finances and how big and how much I wanted, how what I wanted out of life monetarily, I think I had that from the day I got married. But then when I went and really became an entrepreneur, when I came to the UK, there was a totally a different mindset. Like it was like, can I even do this? Because growing up, I was always not good enough.
Mm,
Like I said, I didn't even know who I was. Like I was not good enough. Like I've had my own mom say to me, like, you can't be a good mom. Like if you're going to put your daughter in a school, probably ask others who have been to unis in different schools, see what school to put her in. Like, or maybe my daughter would write a composition and they'll be like, get her to assess the composition and see if she can, like, come on, stop it. We are not illiterate. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
It's like, how bad are we? So I think sometimes like, so when I came here and when I ended my final year studies in the UK, that's how I got to the UK, and I got the best entrepreneur award for that year actually.
Wow.
And when I was named that the final year, and I was given $1,000, and I remember the first ever mentor I had, he said to me, Kala, you have so many talents, go, you got this, just go do it. And when there was somebody out there telling you that you can do this, and I telling you that, there was just like a momentum going on. So I started my first business again, like, okay, am I cut out for this? Am I not? Can I do this? Can I not do that? But I still did it anyway, because I've been a person who always takes action if I wanted to. And my speed of implementation is very fast, because I like to kind of fail fast so that I know the outcome, and then I
Yeah.
can move on to the next thing,
Like,
right?
do
I
I
don't
carry
like
on
to
doing
drag
this?
it out. No,
Yeah.
no, I hate that. I hate to, like, okay, sit there for 2 years trying to build something up, and then you just wasted 2 goddamn years. So I'm not that person. So I did it. I launched my first business, and then I was going to raise money. So within 3 months, I went to pitch. And then the guy said to me, okay, this has not really been launched yet. Go launch it and come back to me, and I'll find you your investment. So I went on, launched it within a month and a half. And then I had obviously income coming in. 3 months from then, I raised my first six-figure investment.
Wow.
And yeah. And so when I did my first pitch, and the funny thing is, in my second pitch, I raised my investment. And when I was doing my pitch, I have never done a pitch before. Like, really? And I'm telling you, like, today I invest in companies. Today I teach people how to pitch. And I always tell them one thing: a lot of people focus on the business plans. They write such hefty business plans. They focus on, all the nitty gritty things. But I'm like, no, you focus on you, because nobody actually knows the business as well as you.
Yeah.
And how I nailed it was just speaking so passionately about what is it that I want to do.
Yeah.
And it was a super easy, quick process. And people don't believe it. There's people going on for 2-3 years trying to raise investment unsuccessfully. Just because the focus is on the wrong point.
Yeah.
You got to think what the investor's looking for. And so yeah, that was one thing where I kind of started like, it was not enough. Like, is this good enough? Like, can I pitch? Can I do this? Who's going to give me money? Like, my own mom wouldn't invest in me, so why would somebody else do that?
Yeah.
And I remember the guy who introduced me to investors said, you know what, you're going to become so big, like they are going to come and invest in you, just do this.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's all it takes, Rasha. I have to be so honest. Sometimes all it takes is just for that one person to say, you got this.
Yes.
And then if you're a self-starter, you will get it going. And I think I was just I was in that scenario. And there's many instances, where you talk about finances, where I feel like sometimes I get a bit comfortable and I'm not growing. So if I earn a certain amount, I feel okay, I'm enough with that. And then I stop doing whatever I'm doing and then
Yeah.
I just relax a little bit. And I think that goes back. And this was again caught by one of my mentors. And he said, you know what? You're so comfortable. One day I'm going to empty your bank account out for you.
Uh-huh.
And and I'm like, but you see, that's the thing, because you kind of feel like you don't want to mold, you don't want to be greedy, but actually it's not greedy. What I've learned in this space in this so many years of doing business is that the more I have, the more I can give.
Yes.
Because today I speak to so many university students. I literally like work with so many youth. That's my passion. Like, because I have an 18-year-old daughter, like the impact I've done on her is the impact that is creating the next generation impact, really.
Yeah.
And I have helped like 21 years old, like literally clear their student loan debts, clear the credit cards,
Wow.
and start their own business and run currently six-figure business. They're 23 right now, and for me, like, what else, like, there's nothing else bigger, is it? And I'm able to do that because I have the time freedom, number one,
Yeah.
and I have the financial resources, because
Yeah.
if I'm struggling on my own end, I have no time to be spending on other people right now,
Definitely.
right? So for me to be able to give my energy and time for that, then I need to be able to have a full cup first
Yeah.
before I could give.
That's actually
So
one
that's
thing. Sorry, I was going to say that's actually
no, go on.
something I've struggled with growing up, because when you come from a cultural background, and just for anyone that doesn't know, so my family's from Sri Lanka, and so we still have family there, and my parents had to leave in the middle of a war to come over here. And you're always told there's people there starving, there's people there that don't have education, there's people there that don't have. And so sometimes when you start having, like, I remember when I had my first job, I started working when I was 16 because I felt this guilt of, I don't want to, I need to help my parents, I don't want to burden my parents, I want to
Yeah,
contribute. And so I started working when I was 16, tutoring. And when I started earning that money, I would feel so guilty to buy stuff, because I was like, but there's people over there
yeah,
that don't have, and there's people over there that don't have. And that's always in the back of your mind. And then we also, when we were younger, did go and visit, like we visited and we saw the situation, and like firsthand. And those memories stick with me. So, anytime, I'm always very conscious of, yes, I do need to help. I do need to help other people, and especially people back home. And, I do need to send money there. And I do lots of charity and philanthropy and stuff around that. But at the same time, I can't stop the guilt that comes with, oh, but I want to buy this one thing for myself. And I feel so guilty. Like, you don't need a bag that, like you mentioned, the LV bag. My husband bought me one too. But there's part of me that's like, I keep it all wrapped up really nice in the packaging, and I don't use it because I'm like, I don't want to spoil the bag because my husband spent so much money on it. But also, there's a part of me that feels a bit guilty about, but you don't need a bag because that could feed this many people, that could educate this many children. And getting into that mindset of understanding, just because you have something nice doesn't mean that you're taking away from other people. Like, there is enough in the world for you to have nice things
exactly.
and for you to give to other people. What you need to understand is that you need to, the more that you become abundant, the more you can help the people you want to help.
Exactly.
And it's not a choice between whether you have the LV bag or whether you help people. You can do
Exactly.
you can do both. But it took me a long time even to take it out the box and wear it. It took my husband literally was like, I bought you that bag like ages ago. Why are you still not wearing it? And he did it for the same reason that you mentioned. Like, my husband wanted me to know, like, anything's possible. Like, you are not limited
Exactly.
by your background or your culture or where you come from. And he saved up many, many months to buy that. It's not like we could afford that easily or anything. But
Exactly.
the reason he did it was, I want you to know that you are abundant. I want you to know that that
Yeah.
you're not limited. And that's the reason he bought that for me. So I didn't want it. It's not that, so it's
Yeah.
really, yeah, I find that point so interesting, because that's a personal thing that I've had to really work hard at, because I have struggled.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah, but I think what also comes out with that is that by you being abundant, you inspire so many other people to follow the same. And that
yes.
is what I love it. When you have something, people go like, "How did you do that?" Because they want more as well. So I think it's a nice thing. And in any way you look at it, it's like just helping people reach the goals by you showing them what you have done for yourself. I think that's just beautiful in its own way. So yeah,
Yeah, that's so powerful. And like, thank you so much for sharing your story, because that helps others understand that you can, like, sort of go beyond what limitations you were told
yeah,
as you were a child. And I think sometimes it's hard for us as parents, because sometimes our expectations do get put on our children, and I try really hard not to do that. But sometimes it's like, oh, you got like, we worked the whole week on your spellings and you got like three wrong or two wrong or whatever, and I have to be so mindful to be like, because I have my parents being like, what happened, why didn't you get it right? And then, not in a bad way, they just know that they know
yeah,
you're capable of doing better, so they're like, why haven't you not done better? But I have to be really mindful to my child to say, that's okay, that's just three words, we can learn that again, and you'll do better next time. But
yeah,
do I have to try and make my daughter sort of understand, do you know why you might have got them wrong? Did you not focus very much this week, or were you not, like, did you not put enough effort into it? Think about what would be the reasons, and next time try and avoid them, but not still to make her feel bad that she didn't achieve something
yeah,
just because I expected, or I know that she's capable, and I want her to do that, because that just adds pressure that you don't want to add, to
yeah.
people. So it'd be interesting if you had any tips for us around how we can be mindful in the way that we speak to the next generation, like our children, nieces, nephews, or other children that we come across. What
Yeah.
are things that we can do to help them feel that it's safe for them to be how they want to be? Like, it's safe for them to be themselves, and
Yeah.
they don't have to conform to anybody's expectation of what they need to be.
Yeah, I think the number one thing I tell everyone is to stop asking kids what they want to be when they grow up.
Oh, yeah.
They have to stop that because I think that's an added pressure and they don't have to get it figured out. Because kids are then like, they end up either lying or just spitting things out that they know. Oh, I want to be a lawyer. I want to be a firefighter. I want to be this. I want to be that. But actually, that's not what they want to be at all. Like, I didn't know what I wanted to be until I was in my 30s. Like,
Mm,
I think and if you ask my daughter today what she wants to be, she'll just answer you very simply, I just want to be happy. That's my daughter's answer.
love it. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So my daughter, though she kind of now she's finishing A levels and she's going to uni, she's going to become a bio. She wants to go into biochemistry, but she's got so many things she wants to do. She's an avid YouTuber and she wants to go into Korea dancing. So she does so many different things, and I just let her go venture. She wants to take a backpack and start traveling after she finishes her A levels. But I'm like, just whatever, because it's a mode of self discovery. And I think as parents, we need to be very mindful of kind of adding that stress to them. So, for example, she's doing her A levels right now, and I think it was last week where she just ended up breaking down because it's just too many things coming at one time for her.
Yeah.
And with the COVID happening, when schools reopened, what the schools were doing is they were just pushing like 3, 4
Pressure.
exams at one time, exactly because they needed the A level grades to kind of give them the kind of results they wanted to put together.
Yeah.
So it was just too much, and she had projects to do and everything. And one day she just broke down, and I was like, don't cry. There's nothing to cry. It doesn't matter. It's not the end of the world. Like, you do well, it's great. You don't do well, it's also fine. There's
Mm.
always so many different things you could go on and do. But she's always done well in the exam. So I just feel like, you see, I think, again, I've had this conversation with parents before, and it's always a case of like agree to disagree, where parents will be like, we need to limit screen time on the kids.
Mm.
We need to tell kids to go to bed early. I am not a fan of that at all. My daughter, she can sleep at 1, 2 a.m. sometimes and she'll be watching her show. I don't mind it, but things get done. Like, she always knows her priorities.
Mm.
The key is not to tell them to limit the screen time, it is actually to educate them to get the priorities right.
I could not
That's the important thing.
I could not agree more. I mean, like, if you just apply this, like, I agree with you on screen time as well. Like, my children are 6 and 3, and I don't limit to them. I want them to self-regulate and learn how to make good
Exactly.
choices, because I'm not going to be there when they're 16 or 18 or 25 or whatever, and
Exactly.
they can't stop binge watching a Netflix show. They have to know to self-regulate themselves. And
Yeah,
I always give my children, like, this is my advice. Like, I never say you must do this, or I mean, I can't say never say. Maybe
exactly.
I do sometimes accidentally sort of say you have to do this, but most of the time I try to say, my advice would be this, but what you decide to do is then up to you. Like I'm not here to control you. I'm here to guide you. And I can only speak from my experience, but you may have other
Yeah.
ideas and other things that have to come out of you that I can't, I don't want to stop. So I'm going to give
Yeah.
you my advice, but you can try whatever you want and you'll learn the hard way if you have to learn the hard way. That's your choice. So when it comes to stuff
Yeah.
like Easter eggs, for example, like one of my friends is like, I tell all my family, no one give chocolate, no one give Easter. Like, I can't control other people. Like people want to give love to, if people think that's their way of giving love to my children and they want to give it, they can give it. But I will teach my children about how to limit themselves from, right, you've got all of this. Now, is that good quality chocolate? Do you want to put that into your body? This is better raw chocolate, healthier chocolate. Do you want to put that into your body? But you make the decision. And I don't hide anything. We don't do anything.
Yeah.
And I get my children to throw away themselves the stuff that they're not going
Yeah.
to eat. So they pick up the, like very low quality chocolate Easter eggs and stuff that you get. I'm like, that is really full of chemicals and toxins, and look at all the numbers. So it's up to you. I would advise you put that in the bin, but you do what you like to do. And so they
Yeah.
pick it up and they put it into the bin because they are self-regulating themselves. This stuff I'm not going to eat. So when they're 18 or 20 or whatever, someone gives them something and they know it's not good, they can put it
Exactly.
in the bin, right? It's not, they're not like, mummy needs to be on the phone like, why are you doing this? Put this in the bin.
Exactly. Right? I don't understand why parents do that. Like they try to tell them that, oh, you have to stop the TV by 9 o'clock. No.
Yeah.
Like I watch movies with her until like 2 a.m. sometimes. My husband joins us. We all binge watch. Like, what's the big deal right now? Do you know? Like her work's done, she's doing well, she's happy, we all are happy, we have our time. And she's a worker at night. She works better when it's slightly later into the evening. It's good. She knows herself, she knows what works for her. And that's all that matters, As long as they're not doing anything that's, that you don't want them to be doing, even then you can only educate them. And I think that comes again from my own self-awareness. Growing up, my friend circles, all of them were smokers. We used to hit the club so often, and all of them were drinkers. They would swing from relationship to relationships, but I was one of those girls, like, never smoke. I don't smoke. I don't drink. Like I do have occasional party drinks, but not like drink. And I don't swing. So it's like, I think it doesn't matter the environment, as long as you know what is it that you can do, cannot do, and want to do and do not want to do. That's all that matters. And my daughter is the same. And I think it's just teaching them the boundaries of making smart decisions, and then they're good, because it's about teaching them to become a responsible adult, so they find the right partner, they know what's good for them, good for their life, and they're happy. That's all that matters. The more you restrict, the more you hold back, the more you do things, you're going to realize that actually at the back end, you're harming them in so many different ways. They're doing so many different things that you don't even know about.
Exactly. It causes so many mental health issues that I think we don't get to see.
Does.
Like as parents, you may not have to deal with those mental health issues because they manifest as the child gets older. And once they become an adult, your child is the one that's going to be the person that has to deal with those mental health issues. So you have to be so mindful in the way that we bring them up, that they don't feel inadequate, or they don't feel restricted, or they don't feel like they have to do things a certain way, and that they have freedom to explore. Because if they can't explore with us, then like they're going to go and explore in a world that is quite unsafe. If they don't feel safe to explore at home, then I have to go somewhere else to explore, and that place might not be a safe place to go and explore. So we need to think about creating a safe environment where you can make mistakes, you can fail, and it's okay to fail. Like, I'm here to catch you. Like, I'm going to tell, like, this is my advice. I hope you won't do this. Even if you do, I'm here to catch you. So like, give it a go.
Totally.
If you feel so strongly that you must do something, even though I don't feel you should, give it a go and let's see what happens, sort of thing. So yeah, I totally agree with you in terms of that. It's really important for our children to feel, like you said, actually having that home, a place where it's yours and you can do what you like, and no one's going to laugh at you or say something to you or judge you. Really important. You have a place where you can go where you're not judged and you can just do what you want to do and be that. I can't say that I get it right 100% of the time. There are times where I'm really like stressed and you get angry and like, but why are you doing this? I've told you so many times, like, stop, whatever. But as much as you can, you try and create that space for your children. Or if you make a mistake, you apologize. I do make a conscious effort that, we are all human beings. We will all make mistakes. I have shouted at my children even when I've not wanted to shout at them. But I always make a point of apologizing to them, which is something I feel like, just to sit down and say, hey, I made a mistake. It wasn't anything you did. It wasn't your fault. Something you did triggered me, but that's my problem. It's not your fault that happened, right? Just so that they're clear that they're not a bad person or they haven't done something wrong. But I feel like in our culture especially, you never got an apology from your parents. Getting an apology from your parents would be like amazing. You know, if that ever happened, sometimes you get told off for things you didn't even do, and they'll be like, oh, whatever, and they just
Exactly.
walk out the
Yeah.
room. But that's a cultural
Yeah.
thing, because there is this cultural thing of you just listen to your elders, you don't talk back to your elders, even if your elders are wrong, you just sort of nod your head, bite your lip, and you just get on with life. And I have to say, my parents were very open to us having open discussions. They always invited opinion. Like even if something simple like buying a sofa in the house, my parents would never buy anything
Yeah.
for the house without asking me and my sister first. But I know that
Yeah.
from our outer circles in families, we would get really condemned for that. My dad has actually even been told that he's a bad father because he allows me and my
Mm.
sister to have so much of you know, that other people in the community would
Yeah.
say that you're giving your children too much room. They're too outspoken because you give them too much room. But my dad was saying they're girls, and I want to empower them, and I want them to have a voice, and I want them to have a place, and I want them to know that their opinions matter. But in our culture, like wider culture and community, I know that sometimes, you know, I felt very uncomfortable to speak up or say the things I wanted to say because I knew you'd be shot down. Like, how dare you speak to an elder like that, even though
Exactly.
the elder might have made a mistake. And I wasn't saying in a disrespectful way, I wasn't saying in a rude way, I was just pointing out, by the way, like, you've done this and that's not a very nice thing to do, and you would still
Yeah.
get shut down because you're a child, and how dare you talk to an elder and tell them they did something wrong. So that thing about an apology, like, you never get it, and it's so unheard of.
Yeah.
But I found in my journey that apologies are really important for healing. Like, it's such an important part of the process of knowing that someone has heard and validated and understood that what you went through was not
Yeah.
good or wasn't right. Like, how important or not important has that been in your journey? And like, how have you dealt with a situation where maybe you have or haven't had the apology you wanted, but you've had to carry on and
Yeah.
had to heal yourself?
Do you know, now that you say it and I think about it, I don't think I even expected an apology because I just knew it wasn't coming. And
Yeah.
it wasn't a norm, like what you say, you know. It didn't even cross my mind if only she apologized or if only they apologized. I don't think it ever crossed my mind ever, you know. But I think when I got married and when I saw my daughter cry at that age, I just knew. I think it was just an instinct in me to know that I did something wrong and I had to say sorry to it
Yeah.
because yeah, there was not a logical reasoning behind it. When you do something wrong and when you see somebody cry, it's awful to actually do that, you know. And
Yeah.
I think more than anything, we just need to be world class human beings, and to actually make somebody tear, I just think you're so awful. Like, why would you even do that, you know? And that's why I hate it when people go online and they bully and they hurt other people or they say things that just hurts other people. And I think that doesn't make you a nice person at all, no matter what your reasoning is, you
Yeah.
know. So I think when that happened with my daughter, it was just an automatic thing. And there was another instance when because you know, when we're in business, we get so caught up with work, and sometimes my workload with my clients, and because I have multiple businesses, I get so busy, and so I'll tell her something like, okay, I'm going to bring you to the cinemas, and I would have to cancel on her.
Mm.
And there was one day she came to me and she said, "Do you know what? If you're not going to bring me, don't say it," because she was looking forward to that movie, you know.
Yeah.
And she didn't come across, she didn't say it in a bad way, she was really hurt, and she said to me, "Don't say it, then at least I don't have the expectation, and
Yeah.
then we will just go when you have the time,
Yes.
you know, and that's fine. But then when you say it and you don't do it, it's like, I was looking forward, I came back from school, but then you said we can't go today, so I'm just sad." And do you know, when she said that, from that minute onward, I've never once, till today, and it's been years now, I've never once canceled on her.
Wow.
So, do you know what I mean? It's like, and I love the relationship because she teaches me, you know, and I think I wrote that on my social media once. As much as I'm the mom and I share and I educate her and I teach her and I inspire her,
Yeah.
she has taught me so many things myself. You know, I've learned so much from her. You know,
Oh,
how to be more brave, how to speak up, how to be more confident. She teaches me a whole lot of stuff. And I remember this in fact happened yesterday when, you know, and she's in her levers now, she's the A level, so she's having the levers party,
yeah.
and they all playing this game where they needed to vote, give a title to a specific student and then vote. So you can be like the most drama queen, the most funniest, the most,
Yeah.
you know, that kind of thing, right? So my daughter got voted for two. She got voted for the drama queen, and she got voted for the most likely to marry a millionaire. So this was the two she was voted for, right?
Yeah.
And then she stood up and she was making a banter. She said, "Who? Tell me who." She did the sassy thing and she was like, like, tell me who. She came back and she reenacted the whole thing to me. And she freaked her hair and she said, tell me now who voted for the drama queen now. Just tell me who it is. I own it out, you know. So she's having a banter with them. And then when it came to the millionaire, she said, now look, you guys got it all wrong. I don't need to marry a millionaire because
I'm
I
going to be the
am going to
man.
be the millionaire.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, and she said that. She came and she said that to me, and I was like, and then her friends were like, you reckon? And she was like, yeah, of course. It's like no brainer. And I'm very proud of that because till now she's working on YouTubing, she's working on monetizing the YouTube, she's collaborating with so many people, she's invested in cryptos and she does investments and she's going
Amazing.
to learn Forex. You know, she's only 18,
Yeah.
you know, and so I think that it's amazing when she teaches me so many things. She's not afraid to speak up. She tells people as it is, and a very good example of that, you know, we Asians, whenever we travel, like from UK, and I go back to Singapore, I have to buy a whole lot of chocolates back
Gifts.
home,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? I don't, till today I have no answer why. Even my husband was like, why the hell do they need chocolates? Like, as if you can't buy chocolates back there, right?
Yeah.
And so we have to buy all these gifts and everything. And it's not because we want to, because we have to. Because
Yeah.
why are you making a trip back home? And so the last time, which was about 3 years back when I went back to Singapore, before I did that, I was busy buying all the chocolates back home for my mom, my brother, and my aunts and everybody.
Yeah.
And then we went back, and then my mom gave a comment in front of my daughter and myself, and she said, chocolate's not enough, why didn't you buy more? And I didn't even answer. I was just keeping quiet. You know, for me now, I've come to a point where I just listen and then I just keep quiet. I don't argue and I just leave it, right?
Yeah.
And my daughter was like, why do you need her to buy chocolates? Can you not go down to the supermarket there and buy chocolates yourself? You know, and my mom was actually dumbfounded because nobody actually said that to her,
Yeah.
which to me made so much of sense, right?
Yeah.
And so this is something I learned from my daughter continuously today, how to speak up, like just say what you feel without having to think so much. Whereas because I've been so conditioned over the years, I kind of still take the angle like, okay, they're older, elder, and I just respect it. I don't
Yes.
say anything. I
Yes.
don't voice an opinion. But my daughter is the total opposite. She's like my husband. She just says it as it is.
Yeah.
Like if she thinks you're full of bull, she's going to tell you that's crap. No, I'm not buying into that.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean she's rude. She just gives her state and her opinion, which I
But
think is amazing.
it's such an important skill. It's so important because
Exactly.
when you go out into this world, if you don't put what you want out there, people aren't just going to give it to you. And
Exactly.
I really struggled with this when I first went into the working world because of this thing about don't speak up to your elders or people who are more experienced than you and all that kind of
Exactly.
stuff. I would have ideas that were better or that would would make things more efficient. And but I was like, but I'm the new person and I'm young and
Exactly.
who's going to listen to me? And you wouldn't share those things because you're
Yeah.
scared. You're scared to, or I shouldn't, right? And then finally, after 3 weeks of everyone trying to figure it out and nobody's got an answer, and I'm like, by the way, I have an idea. I don't know if it's silly. I'll just tell you. And they're like, why did you not tell us this before? This is like,
Exactly.
this is really good. And even things like promotions, for example, it's like, it's like, well, this person's been here longer, so they have to have a promotion before you. And it's like, well, I've been here less time and I've done more work and I've given you more success and I've delivered more projects. So I think that speaks more than how long I've been sitting in one chair doing nothing. But it took me such a long time to get to the point where I had the confidence to say that, because for so many times when I was like, well, I deserve a promotion, I've hit all the targets before everybody else. And then still they were like, well, you're still new and that person hasn't got their promotion yet, so we don't want to upset them. Well, then if they don't want to be upset, they need to do the work, and I'm doing the work. So why are you happy to upset me who does the work, but you're not happy to upset the person who doesn't do the work but just sat in that chair for longer than me?
Exactly.
And then by the second time, I was like, I have had enough. I am going to go and even when I discuss this with my parents, like, I'm going to go speak to my boss and I'm going to say, I'm not happy with this. This is not okay. But no, you shouldn't speak to your boss like that. And don't say things like that, because then you might lose your job or this might happen. I'm like, if I'm going to lose my job because I'm asking for what is my right, then I'm happy to find another job, because I'm not being valued what I'm doing. But we're taught in our culture, don't rock the boat. Like, you just go, and when it's time, they'll give it to you, and like, they'll never give it to you. They'll know that you will stay and you will work hard and you will deliver, and you're not going to talk about it because you've been brought up to sit in your box and just like carry on. And so with my kids, I'm like, no, if you feel something. So as an example, my daughter, one particular week, someone got Star of the Week, and it was for sitting still on the carpet. And she was like, that person never sits still on the carpet. They did it once and they got Star of the Week. I sit still every single week on the carpet, and I've never been given star of the week, right? So she, like, her logic was, I do it consistently, I do it all the time, and I'm not
Yeah.
recognized for what I do. But someone does it once after being naughty every single week and not sitting properly, and they
Yeah.
get it for the one time that they sat still. And she was really like upset about this, and I was like, you need to go and tell your teacher that this is how you feel. And she was like, I can't tell the
Yeah.
teacher. Like, oh my God, I can't tell the teacher. I was like, well, you can. If you want something and you think it's wrong, you have to go and tell the teacher. And so she went and told the teacher, like, I feel like this is a bit unfair because I do things every single week, and, you know, I'm not being recognized for what I do. But this person does it once, and then they get like an award and a cake with the head teacher, and they, you know, they get.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
the whole star of the week thing in itself is a bit flawed. You know, I don't really like the whole thing, but you know, this is what's happening. And her teacher said, you know, you make a really good point. Like, the people who are consistent and do things well don't get recognition. But when someone hasn't been
Yeah.
doing something and they suddenly do it, then they get all the praise and the recognition because they never
Yeah.
used it before. But actually,
Yeah.
that's like false. You know, you're demotivating the people who are consistent and are doing it properly.
Exactly.
And so for the next week, she got star of the week for speaking up and telling her
Yeah.
her point of view and sharing it. And I was like, this is what
Yeah.
happens when you speak up and when you share how you feel about stuff. So it's so important that we can break that cultural pattern of like, just be quiet,
Of
just nod your
course.
head, just bite your tongue, just get, you know, just get on with things, just, you know, just deal with it, or just respect your elders because they're elders. It's like, just because they're elders
Yeah.
doesn't mean what they do is right, and doesn't mean that what they're
Mm.
doing, you know. So we have to find a respectful way to be able to share our thoughts and our opinions with
Yeah.
people. I just like to come back to sort of like the health side of things, in terms of like, obviously mental health wise, there's lots of limits and things that we have to sort of overcome. But physically, did you ever feel any of the effects of like having to deal with those situations or things that are inside? Because I guess when you bottle things up inside, somehow that's going to physically manifest in your body as some sort of thing.
Yeah.
Did you ever have to deal with like a physical side of the health implications of, you know, like coming from a culture where you're taught to like sort of keep everything, or you're not good enough, or, you know, any of those
Yeah.
things?
No. No, because I always had an outlet. So though I had my mom doing all of that, I was angry, I was upset, I was sad. I always had an outlet to go back and spit it all out, you know. So either when I was with my friends, or whether it's my grandparents, whether it's my aunt, I always speak. And I think that's one thing that I think I was good at. I always voice my opinions,
That's
and
good.
I always share them with people with who I'm close to. And so I think I never really had it physically. And yeah, so that is maybe reason why till today I can never understand. And this is not just about mental health or being physically hurt. I think a lot of people just do it to themselves. They keep it inside, and they say, oh, my mom did that to me, or because this person did that. It's true. Yes, you sure had a lot of experiences which you wouldn't want to be in that position, but then it's on you to do something differently. And I think people need to understand that this is not about being empathetic. It's like, okay, I understand you, I feel you. Like, if people go, sometimes I think people just go down the wrong road. Like, for example, if they have a story that they have been abused and they're having mental health issues, and maybe they are physically just not doing well, and they share that with somebody, and most likely the person says, I feel you so much, just be stronger, hope you get better. But let me tell you, that's going to do change nothing. Just getting that nice words from somebody doesn't do anything. It's the same thing in the business space, where people attend these motivational talks, YouTubes, or anything, and I always say this: you attend these events, you get pumped up for 2-3 days, you go like, go, I'm going to rock this, I'm going to hit this goals, and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And then 2-3 days later, you come back, you're back in the same dump. The reason is because you keep drawing the energy from external rather than working on yourself.
Yes.
When you are so internally pumped, that's when you realize that change happens. So when you go to these events, or you hang out with those people who pump you up, then the acceleration happens. You kind of leverage that and have the tipping point, compared to you are empty, and then you fill that in, and then it kind of evaporates after 2-3 days.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing in this. So like I said, now I cannot understand where I went with this. But when I was younger, I never really understood the terminology. But I used to always share this. I always used to focus on the right places. I just love being happy. I just enjoy fun. So that's where my attention was. But now when you look back and you put a term to it, it's now really kind of taking out all these things that you don't need to be keeping is garbage at the
Yeah.
end of the day.
Yeah.
Like we spoke about it, right? It's memories, great. We can share this story that's going to help somebody else. But the purpose of me talking today is not to feel sorry for you or feel empathetic with you, because that's not what I'm here to do. Is to tell you that it doesn't matter what other people have done. It's on you to remove that and go live your life,
Yes,
right?
because
Because exactly. Everything else doesn't matter, So I don't think physically I was, in any shape or form. No, I was quite blessed that way. So I kind of just like till today. And so what happened was even better. I moved away from that environment. So now it's just the three of us plus my dog, and I'm just in a happy space. If I'm not happy, we talk. If I have anything that I need to share with my husband, we talk. But I love talking. I never keep anything inside.
yeah.
So I just let it out. So
I
yeah,
think that
that helps.
that is so important, because if you don't talk about it, then it will just stay within you, and it's so important.
Exactly.
I almost like the way I deal with stuff is it happens and I will just shout it. I almost like just shout it out, and then it's out my system, and I don't worry about it afterwards. But
Exactly.
then for my husband, that's so different, because he's like what's happening? Because then he thinks, oh, like when we first met, he's like, oh, are you upset at me? Like, no, it's done.
Yeah.
Like, I've said it. I've said what I
Yeah.
needed to say, and it's done. And now we just carry on. And he's like,
Exactly.
oh, so you're not like angry at me or upset at me or whatever. I'm like, no, in the
Yeah.
moment, this is how I felt. I let it out, and then I'm gonna carry on with what I do. But
Yeah.
it's a hard adjustment to make, because if you're not used to that, you're like, oh my god, she's really upset. She's really angry. It's like,
Yeah.
no, I just need to let it
No.
out, because I don't want to hold it in my system.
Exactly.
And now he's obviously used to that. He's like, it's not nice, but fine, I get it. You just need your moment, and then you're going to be
Yeah.
fine again. But
Yeah.
I think it's important to give like people an understanding of, you need an outlet, and even if it can't be
Yeah.
that you can speak to somebody, because maybe in your family, if it doesn't work that way or whatever, are there any other types of outlets that you think that people can use to help them release
Of
sort of
course.
negative energy?
Yeah. Do you know, honestly, this was something that was a big thing for me. So again, like I said, I come from a space, I was blessed. I have my husband and everyone, but there's so many people that I've met in my journey who don't have that support
Yes,
bubble,
yes,
right? So for them, I always say this, go out and meet new people. Like you wouldn't imagine that it's just crazy how you just vibe with someone. And again, because I'm very strong on energy and I'm more of an extrovert, so no, introvert, sorry. So when I actually meet people and I go out to events, and if there are events where I'm not vibing, it
takes
drains my
energy away from
energy.
you. Yeah,
Yeah, I feel so drained. So I don't like having conversations which is just dumb. Like it gets into me, not because I don't like talking to the person, but it drains my energy
yeah,
and I don't feel good. So I'm just that person. And I don't vibe with everybody. So and I've met so many people in this line, especially in what I do. And it's just a handful of people that I could just talk so freely, I could share, I could just vibe and I could just hang out with. And that is a super cool energy. So it's really like go out there and meet people, and don't just go out there and just meet anybody and just start sharing your story. You need to have that vibe. You need to feel comfortable and then build that connection. And you'd be so amazed at how someone that you just met yesterday can actually become such a close friend. Like I've got my circle of friends today is very small. It's a handful. And they're all scattered. Like one of my best friends is in Australia, but it's like we could just go on Skype or WhatsApp or whatever, and we could just have a chat about anything and everything, not even in the same space. She's a homemaker, she's got 2 kids, she's not in business whatsoever. It doesn't matter. It's about who you can vibe with, and you can talk about anything. And I think it's important to have that. And it's not like people were born with it. You find that relationships, right? So make an effort to build connections and go back to basics. Like when you were a kid, when you made friends with somebody, you didn't go there to when you were 5 years old, make friends with somebody because his dad or her dad was a millionaire. You
yes,
didn't,
yes,
right? You went there, you said hi, you just made friends because they were cute or they were funny. You just wanted to play in the playground, you just wanted to have fun,
yeah.
And I think today people get so mixed up in how they make connections. They make connection based on like, what do you do? Who do you know? How much do you
Yeah.
make? Like that, it doesn't matter. Like most of my friends are either housewives, and they're so happy, happier than most of my entrepreneur friends,
Hmm.
or they're just working people. Yes, I sure have a lot of people in business, but it doesn't matter who you are. As long as you're a good human being, you're happy, and I can chill with you and vibe with you, and I can have a drink with you, I'm happy.
Yeah.
It really doesn't matter who you are, how much you have, or whether I'm earning better, you're earning better. It really doesn't matter. So I think people need to go back to the basics of understanding how to build that connection.
Mm.
And and be honest, and I think that's the only way to build that small community. You don't need 50 friends. You just need five, and you're good.
Yeah.
And yeah, and life is good, simple. Yeah.
That sounds really good. Thank you so much. There's been so many like amazing nuggets in our conversation that I've just really loved, because it's just brought me back to a lot of that stuff that I think I've experienced in childhood, but I've accepted. Like I just accept that as
Yeah.
that's normal. That's normal. And actually
Yeah.
speaking when I've been speaking to you about it, I've actually processed and reflected on a lot of things about actually I am trying to do things differently. Like I'm trying my best
Exactly.
to change the narrative for my kids so that they're not stuck in that, that little box.
Yeah.
I almost feel like it is a box that you're put into and you have to confine by these
Yeah.
rules. And it's like, but these rules don't serve, like they don't serve anyone that I really know. But
Yeah.
they're not the rules that I want to live by. So thank you so much. It's been so wonderful to share that.
Thank you.
Are there any last words that you'd love to leave our audience with, or any last like points that you feel like important for the audience to know?
I think it's very important. If you're a woman, you want to listen up. I think financial independence is super important. Being a great mom. Like I said, my purpose, my mission is to impact the next generation. And I think it starts with us as parents, because we lead by example. We don't teach them, we don't raise them. This
Exactly.
is something Elon Musk actually said. And I saw this the other day where he says that we brought the children into the world. The children never asked to be brought into the world. They don't owe us anything. We owe them everything.
Definitely.
And I absolutely love and resonate with that. And it comes back to what you said about how parents feel that we need to support them, we need to give them this, we need to do this, we need to do that. The truth is, as kids, we actually should not be expecting anything from the kids. Expectations is the number one killer. And I think the only way to educate them is to lead by example,
Yeah.
inspire them to be better human beings.
Yeah.
And that's the only way you're going to do that. So find yourself, be educate yourself financially, and find happiness. That's the bottom line. Just be happy. Whatever you do, if it doesn't make you happy, stop doing it. It doesn't make any sense to be doing something that doesn't make you happy. And just be happy, and I think everything else will flow. So yeah.
I love that so much. Thank you so much. That's been so wonderful. It's been a pleasure to have you on
Thank you.
today. And Kala has some. We'll be dropping all the links to Kala's programs and her site. So if you want to catch more of her or learn more about what she does, then please do follow those links as well. We'll catch you on another episode of
Thank you.
Back to Health very soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you would like any of the links or the show notes, you can follow them in the description below. And for more episodes of the Back to Health podcast, please be sure to follow us on YouTube, or you can follow us on Spreaker, where we host our podcast. Thanks again, and I look forward to joining you for another episode of the Back to Health podcast. Until then, stay healthy, stay happy, and stay informed.